What's up? Like we always do about this time. uh, I know y'all seen the N.W.A movie, y'all a little excited. But I should give you guys a little more of a background between Eazy E and Suge Knight. A lot of people didn't know that, and the movie doesn't pretty much tell you too much about it except for they knew each other. And he introduces them to the group and the rest of the homies that's there. So the thing of it was this. Eazy is from Compton, and so is Suge. They from two different sectors, but they knew each other based because a lot of people don't know Eazy is older than Suge. He's about 2 years older than Suge. So when they met up at that time, it's back when Suge was you think he was a promoter by then. He was promoting like parties at the club. But Suge went to high school. He was All-American. When Eazy had dropped out and was hustling on the streets, Suge was hitting the books. You know, playing ball. Got a scholarship. You know, tried out for the Rams after high school. Did a little thing like that. He got cut off the team for the Rams. Didn't make the cut. Then during a strike, I think in 86, 87. That's the only time he really played for him. So, besides that, that was really it. You know, for sure, altogether. As far as like ball playing, before he was pot-root up at the time. Couldn't let the gang stuff go, tempers. You know, so his football career was done. He had some knee injury too that kind of slowed him. So. Anyway, he's a club promoter, and he's putting on parties and stuff in Compton. And mostly it's a blood set. And the part you see where Eazy E come in, and people are like, "You sure you want to come in here?" If you saw the movie, he was like, "Yeah, thanks for the tip." You know, like he ain't got no problem with the Bloods. He grew up on a Crip set, but he ain't crippin', and he ain't blood. He's a gangster, a hustler. But he respected, you know what I'm saying? So don't nobody really bother him. Now Eazy and his cousin was running around doing stuff at the time, you know, selling, slanging, banging. And, you know, his cousin got killed out there on the streets. And him and his cousin, they were like Eazy was his right-hand man, you know. So once he died, Eazy became the man. Then Ren became Eazy's right-hand man. So when they all got together and met, Suge would always see, you know, do the street stuff that I can talk about. It was always a mutual respect between the two because they from the streets. So they both, you know, dap each other up, what's up, you know, and whatever. It was that, and it was, there you go. And even when they were starting to get into the music thing, Suge was like, "Man, yeah, that's the way to go, man. I see y'all doing it, man. Y'all finna try to put Compton on the map. That's what I'm talking about, man, that realness. You know what I'm saying? That's what Compton need, man. We need somebody out here representing us to put us out there the right way." So he was already cool with E. And then he got up with D.O.C, Doc. When they had Doc fly in and join the group, Doc was pretty much an independent till he signed with Ruthless and made his record. And then after that, he talking about what Doc ain't getting paid. And he gonna partner up and hang out with D.O.C all the time. Because him and Doc used to kick it, go to the clubs. Should be in there bouncing, and security of the clubs, they beating dudes up, taking dudes' girlfriends, sleeping with them. Crazy stuff that was happening at the time. And Eazy knew about most of the stuff that Doc was doing and stuff, but he really was like, okay, that's just Doc. Long Doc is doing his job, you know, I don't care what he doing with shit. Now the problem is, Doc was having too much fun, and he keep bringing Suge around. You know, like N.W.A. time. Like they talking about meetings and all this stuff. And he got Suge all in the studio. And then, you know, they'll have a meeting and Jerry and Eazy be like, yeah, we need to have an N.W.A. meeting, so, you know, we'll holler at you, Suge. You know, like, Suge, you got to step. And Suge didn't like that. He didn't appreciate that. And he wanted to kind of check people, let them know, like, don't play me like that. You know, like, I'm Suge Knight. And I'm finna be known up in here. So him and Doc decided that he gonna talk to Doc, like, man, we need to get our own record label, man, cause see, you going with that white man in there telling you what to do, you ain't gonna be free. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm gonna look over your contract, and what I'm gonna do is, me and you, Doc, we're gonna start a record label, and then we start making money off these artists like Jill and Eazy. See, Jill and Eazy, they making all the money. And they split it with them. They ain't looking out for you. Who gonna look out for you? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start putting out our own artists. So we're gonna call it Black Capital Records. And we're gonna put out our own records. And when people come to us, people from the streets, they're gonna hear that real, they don't wanna come over to us, come over to Black Capital. So, Black Capital Records is out. And they have no artists. They have no structure. They has nothing. And they can't really move with Doc leading out with anything because Doc is signed on with Ruthless Records and Suge don't want Jerry Heller or nobody else in his business. So, what's happening is they have a problem. Doc gets in a car accident. Doc's throat's all messed up, so Doc may not rap again. He might never get his voice back. So now Doc's really in a bad situation. So he's still writing, and he know he needs to keep writing to keep, you know, to keep everybody happy. So he got to stick around, and he wrote the Niggas for Life album, you know, and a couple of other jams on there. But he basically, that was all D.O.C. writing. You know, because he couldn't talk. So that was the way he could talk, was through the pen. So Doc writing all them rhymes. And that's for the whole album he did. Doc ain't get paid what he thought he should be getting paid. But they was going to use that money that Doc got to try to build a record label back up. But they was just null and void. Now, Suge, of course, you all knew he was a bodyguard for Bobby Brown for a little bit when he was with New Edition, before all that just went down. And that's when he got to meet a couple of famous people and a couple of record executives like Jimmy Iovine. And then he got to Jimmy to try to, you know, get something going with, you know, with Dre. And he's telling him, I can get Dr. Dre, D.O.C., Michelle A., and I can have them over at Interscope. Now that's a good deal. But Jimmy was like, look, I don't want to be a part of what you're doing to get it, but if you can get it done, you know, bring it to me, and we'll see what we can do. Now, if you saw the movie, you saw there was a beatdown of Eazy E in the room. Now, nowhere has there ever been reported that any hands was put on Eazy E. None that I've heard. Like, that just didn't make sense. Now, what happened was they was at the studio where they recorded Niggas for Life. They needed Eazy to sign them contracts. They told him, man, we want to work on them contracts. We're going to negotiate it. And he wanted to talk about, well, man, let me get Jerry. He's like, we don't need Jerry. You the man. We just need to talk to you. So he's like, all right, I'll come down there. And Eazy, you know Suge. So he didn't think, like, I ain't even need to be strapped going in there. And Eazy even is known for carrying a gun somewhere on him. But for this, he was just like, man, it's just some show up stuff. And when he walked in, he found out it was more than that. They had lead pipes, they had bats, and they told him, like, look, it's gonna go one of two ways. Like, this thing gonna get real physical. And one thing, you know, we got Jerry Heller in the trunk of the car. And it was Eazy wasn't buying it. And then he went with your mom live right here. And we got the address. It was a piece of paper. We had Eazy E mom's address. It had people, like, we got people out there. So we know where she at. So that's when Eazy E signed the contracts. He signed like 3 different documents. One of the documents he made it look like not like his writing, so he would know. People would know. Like he didn't even write his name. I think he wrote something else entirely. It wasn't even his name when he signed it. So after he signs it, he goes over to Jerry Heller's like they have it in the movie and said, I think we need to get rid of Suge Knight because this guy's gonna be a problem. You know, so once that was, you know, solidified that Suge is the problem, now you got a bigger situation. Because now it's like, what do you do? Jerry's like, look, we're making $10 million a month. We don't have to go to this direction and blah, blah, blah. We got 6 employees. We don't need to kill this dude. For what? You know? You'll be dead or in jail. He'll be dead. And so what of it? So at that point, it was entirely different. The JDL was called in. The Israelis flew in. Everybody from Ruthless Records had security up the Yahoo. And they were super protected by the Jewish Defense League. And they were everywhere. They handled the negotiations between Death Row and Ruthless Records because the lawsuits was flying in for, you know, like they signed those contracts under duress, so they weren't going to be valid. And if they were going to stand and they was going to take through, because the judges don't throw those out if they ever tried to like submit them, because they was filed under duress. So what happened is they had to call in Jimmy Iovine. So Jimmy Iovine came in and said, hold on 1 second, let me make a call. He called up some lawyers and said, okay, Suge, if I do this, because, you know, Ruthless Records is going to take you to court and run you dry on your money before you even get started. And that's why he had to call Jimmy, because they was going, all the lawsuits and everything going to court was going to bankrupt Death Row Records before they even got off the ground. That's why when the deep cover came out and all that, for the movie soundtrack, they couldn't even put it on Death Row Records because they were still caught in the deal. So when they put it on the soundtrack and it did what they said it was going to do, Jimmy was interested. So Jimmy got in there and negotiated a deal with Ruthless Records. Once that deal was negotiated, that meant all was about 3-4 so proceeds that anything Dr. Dre earned off of Death Row was going to be kicked back to Ruthless Records, because he had to pay money's back due and Dre took money out of the account. So what they did was the executive producer credits and all that stuff was Suge Knight. They couldn't give the executive producer credit to Dre at the time because they had to reword it because the Eazy E would get a large chunk of that money. So they had a way to try to mask paying Eazy E the money they supposed to pay him off the Chronic. So they had to restructure it. Because Eazy E had him signed as an executive producer deal too. So when he took the deal with Death Row, he brought Eazy E on as an executive producer. So even when they tried to pull the move and put like executive producer Suge Knight, it don't matter. You still gonna have to pay Eazy E, and that's what the contract solidified. Now the royalties was gonna take time to kick in, cause they gonna have to. Chronic had done so much money, like $5 million overall. Then you gotta look at the production credits he got for Doggy Style, and all of this money is gonna have to be calculated for a while before it can get kicked back to Ruthless. And they're trying to find loopholes to get around paying Eazy E. And Suge Knight had a problem because he was like, man, this Eazy E thing gonna become a problem. You know, this thing gonna be a thorn in our side. And when Suge is expanding and Death Row is selling so many records and they just taking over the West Coast, Suge's power grew. He had money and he could reach areas that other people couldn't reach, but he could not touch Eazy E. Eazy E was very well protected and was very well in a whole different mind state of going to war with Death Row Records. Eazy E has been notorious in Compton for being his own man. Nobody put him in a situation of ever being punked in his life. And this man does this to him, it was not going to ride. So what he was going to do was, without mentioning his name on any records or anything, Eazy E was going to destroy Death Row Records. That is what he wanted to do, was crush Death Row Records. And when he dropped It's On Dre, it was on. And Suge Knight and everybody else is like, man, this Eazy E thing ain't going away. And Eazy was building up momentum because Eazy had money to maneuver now. Back in '93 and all that stuff, he was not putting out work. And they put out some projects that didn't take off and really do anything. And they lost a lot of money. Like, they was trying stuff with cocaine and all these other guys. Naughty by Nature was writing for them on some tracks, and the Home for the Sick album didn't really do what they thought it was going to do, because that was their system, was drop an EP. The EP will sell a couple million or maybe 500,000. Then they come with the album. So they had the Temporarily Insane album that was going to come out and be completed right after that. But the album did so poorly. Like, I think it barely went gold. It might have hit gold. And that was below what Priority was interested in. And Priority at that time was more into Ice Cube, and they had artists now. So they were being snotty towards Ruthless Records, who really built them and made them money when they had never had any money before in their life. But now they got all these artists based on the strength of Ruthless Records, and it's the business, no loyalty. So Eazy E decided not to get him the album Temporarily Insane. So he decided to, scrap that whole thing. Forget it. He wasn't going to go in that direction no more. Because after that, Dre dissed him on record and sold his whole record based on dissing Eazy E. Eazy E was dissed on like maybe 4 or 5 records on that album, The Chronic. So they was like, they promoting their album by dissing me and coming after my company on the record. So it was on. So when real Compton City G's came out, there you have it. Death Row is right back at the stand. Suge was paying money so that people wouldn't play the video in Compton. They wouldn't play the records on the radio station. Suge was like, look, I don't want them to play that Eazy E record nowhere. If they play the Eazy E record, you let me know. I'll come down there. So they played the Eazy E record at the radio station. Compton City, man, Suge and them rode by and what was that, truck? They had, it's almost like an armored vehicle. He came down there rolling up, big old armored vehicle, like 24s on them, 20s, he rolling up to the radio station, and he see the JDL all out there, Eazy E up at the radio station. Yeah, it was real. And then when they had the mayor hold up the situation, they was trying to stop the video for real Compton City G's. Suge and them was trying to get the mayor not to give them the permit for them to have to be allowed to film it in Compton. So the JDL, Eazy E, went up there and they got the permits. They came the next day. Everybody's on the video shoot, and they was trying to cost Eazy E money because it's gonna cost money to keep people on the set, waiting for the city of Compton to give them the permits. But they came the next day, and they was able to do their business. Now, that is a situation of Jews versus the Jews. You got Jimmy IV versus the JDL, and each side is like, look, we all trying to get what we trying to get out this situation. Y'all want to coexist, that's fine. But your side is trying to annihilate the other. Each side is trying to annihilate the other. Death Row is at a point where it's like, look, we just wanted to use y'all to get on. Now we on. We don't really care about what you do. But now that you're getting momentum talking about us, we got to come back. And Eazy E was taking it everywhere he could. At the golfing event. Of course, sure, you heard about it. Gangsta Drayster and all them showed up. They was at a golfing event. They had Death Row there, like they artists. And here come Gangsta Drayster and all the rest of them boys from Compton over there by Eazy them hood. And it was on. You know what I mean? You seen Nate Dogg grab one of the clubs and he ready to fly somebody's head. You know, it was on. He was getting harassed. He wanted them to feel unsafe. That's how you made him feel when he was in that room, in that studio. He wanted your artists. He wanted everybody to feel the same thing. Plus, Doc ain't with writing the songs no more. Eazy knew how to break what was going on over there. They got D.O.C. writing all the songs. And that's how Eazy knew. Eazy was like, because he's logical. He got a temper, but he's logical. Eazy will go, they got Doc over there, and Doc writing the songs. What I want to do is I want to talk to Doc. Get Doc on the phone. So Doc got on the phone. He was like, it's Eric. So he talked to D.O.C. And D.O.C. was so messed up on coke and drugs, and he living in Drake's crib, and he basically like, man, we ain't getting no money, man. And Eric, man, it was better when we was over there with you, man, you know. I'm just, you know, I want to get my album out, man, and they ain't trying to hear that, man. They like, ain't nobody gonna buy my album with my voice all messed up, man. Man, what we gonna do is get you to a doctor, man. and we'll work out a deal where you get the right and you'll get the credits for writing. You'll get paid. They paying you over there? Man, they ain't paying me nothing like I was getting, man. I thought I was going to be like partner with Death Row, man. I ain't getting nothing with no partnership or nothing, man. They got me just writing rhymes, man. I ain't getting none of the money. They giving it Dre, and I'm living in Dre crib, man. I want to get my own house. You had your own house when you was with me. Now you living with Dre. Your sergeant ain't getting you no money, huh? Well, you come back working with me, man. We'll work something out. Man, we'll get that deal together. So he was finna take D.O.C. back. D.O.C. was finna go back to writing for Eric Wright. And then Eric was gonna, hit him off and try to get him. Because he knew how to cripple Suge. And that would have been to take D.O.C. at the time. And Dre kept telling D.O.C, like, man, dude, just write the rhymes, man. Just write the rhymes and get your check. Nobody gonna buy that album. Your voice ain't right, man. Nobody's gonna buy that. And he stole the name Helter Skelter that they was finna do. Cube and Dre was finna put an album out called Helter Skelter. And it blew up. He gonna take the name and just run out there and get him a record deal somewhere. And, and here come Helter Skelter. And they was like, man, what is this boy doing, man? He's like, man, he done left Death Row, came out with his own thing, Helter Skelter. Like, man, nobody gonna buy that stuff, man. Why couldn't you just sit down and write the lyrics? Now, this crippled Death Row. A lot of people don't know. Death Row was crippled when Doc left. The lyrics fell off. Nobody's really putting out any material that was worthy of anything anymore. You could see the rhyme patterns if you listen to the Chronic. You listen to Doggy Style. Then listen to Doggy Style. Then listen to The Dogfather. The Murder Was the Case soundtrack was about the last thing they did. And most of those are all the other people from like the Snoop crew who did that from Long Beach. And all those guys, they got on there and he brought them over to Death Row and they was getting it in. So those guys was doing most of the writing for them. So the whole thing kind of switched and changed. And Tupac came and rejuvenized everything for Death Row. But Eazy getting sick and passing, it ended the beef with everything because he was finna partner up with Ice Cube. They was finna put out another N.W.A. album. And that's why when I see the movie and I see this fake conversation between Eazy E and Dre, and like, yeah, Dre finna be on it. Dre wasn't finna be on no N.W.A. album. That's fiction. And why are they trying to push that agenda over is just plain ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, they had patched it up and they were cool. They wasn't cool until Eazy was sick. And that was it. They wasn't finna be no albums. Then it was like, look, let's lay everything down. But other than that, there was no conversation. His album coming out was straight off the streets of Mother Compton. And his whole thing is taking out Death Row. Gangsta Dresta and all them, they coming up on, they got Dog Pound, Death Row Killer, the song. They coming after the Dog Pound. Snoop and all the ass corrupt, all them. They coming after them. Then he went and had Bone Thugs and Harmony. he had the money to sign all these new acts based off the money he got from Death Row. But the deal that he had was structured to that. It was so ironclad that nobody could make any moves. Like nobody was leaving Ruthless. The contract was so, like, you were there for until they decided you was gone. It was that kind of deal, and the deal was messed up. But hey, he wanted to get on. That was it. So Eazy could find talent and get the money back rolling right. But a lot of money was mishandled back in those early 90s that they had to pay a lot of fines for. A lot of stuff didn't get paid. So that Eazy had to restructure his finances and, downgrade his homes and all that stuff. So that wasn't cool for him at that time. He had to go through that because Jerry was mishandling stuff and trying to protect himself because he didn't know which direction the company was going. So on that note, you should be caught up on everything with Eazy and Dre and the whole shebang and Suge and man, that should get everybody on point. And we can sit here all day. I could pick that movie apart and tell you like, oh, this is somebody's version of what the movie was and when it was all good. And mostly this is told from a Ice Cube point of view. Like, this is what Ice Cube saw. And he consulted with these people to make the movie. Dre gonna tell it from his point of view from when he was there. Ray gonna tell it from his point of view when he was there. Yellow gonna tell it from his point of view when he was there. So they could piece things together from, to make a full movie. Even when scenes was around when, they weren't there anymore. Because Q wasn't really there no more. Early on. So, after Straight Outta Compton, he was done. So, for him, those gaps had to be filled in by Red and Dre. And Yellow. But I'm glad everybody's going out to watch the movie and supporting it. Because any movie about N.W.A. is going to be tremendous. It's N.W.A. They built the foundation of the artists you love today. You wouldn't have no Kendrick Lamar, no Eminem, no 50 Cent. None of that stuff would even exist if it wasn't for Ruthless Records. So, nobody would have had the idea. People were still afraid to really curse on records. So, I'm out. This video long enough.